A senior State Department official named Brian Hook recently made a chilling speech at the Hudson Institute where he essentially made the case for regime change in Iran. Someone from Trump's administration making the case for regime change. Now, he spoke out against the Iran nuclear deal. He advocated for additional sanctions that specifically hurt the people of Iran and fosters instability. And Medea Benjamin of Code Pink heard what he said, and she decided to storm the stage in order to call him out and call out this administration for their warmongering. And she did not leave that stage until they literally carried her off. And that was by far one of the most courageous things I have ever seen. Take a look.
That is the most ridiculous thing I have seen. The world community wants to keep the Iran nuclear deal. Our allies are the Germans, the French, the British. They want to keep in this deal. The world community wants to keep the deal. Let's talk about normal countries. Let's talk about Saudi Arabia. Is that who our allies are? They are the biggest threat to the world community. And let's talk. You're hurting me. You're actually hurting me.
Well, you're falling off.
I want to ask, do you think these sanctions are hurting the regime or are they hurting the Iranian people? They're hurting the Iranian people. You are making a case for a war with Iran. How did the war with Iraq turn out? You're doing exactly the same thing we did in the case of Iraq. We don't want another war in the Middle East. Let's
you want to
see.
go outside and give
How does Iraq turn out? How did Libya turn out? We have the people of Syria suffering. And how dare you bring up the issue of Yemen? It's the Saudi bombing that is killing most people in Yemen. So let's get real. No more war. Peace with Iran.
I think she had her coffee this morning.
That was remarkable, and you've got to give Medea credit. She's one of the only people in the country speaking out to this degree and challenging the status quo when it comes to war, and she is bold. They had to carry her out. She's a very tiny woman, and you have 4 men carrying her out, and with everything in her, she is making her case. As they are carrying her out, she's still yelling. I mean, if there's anyone that I look up to in this country, she's at the top of my list, because that is just absolutely... that's bravery right there. That's what you call speaking truth to power. And I don't know if you missed it towards the end there, but they actually made fun of her. Brian said, "Oh, I think she had her coffee this morning." You're laughing off the substance of what she said. I mean, these people are absolutely despicable. And at the UN, I don't know if you caught it, but Donald Trump subtly suggested that regime change in Iran, maybe that's not such a bad thing. Now, he didn't explicitly say that, but slowly but surely, what you see is people within this administration building their case for war with Iran. I mean, Rudy Giuliani recently said that sanctions are intended to foster instability in hopes that there's going to be a regime change one day, in hopes that they can put someone else in charge of Iran. So this is all incredibly disturbing, and Medea did the right thing. And she talked about the need for the Iran nuclear deal. It's a peace deal. It stops them from getting a nuclear bomb. But Donald Trump decided to unilaterally withdraw from that. She talked about how harmful the sanctions are on the Iranian people. They're trying to hurt the government, but really, this is hurting the Iranian people. But that's the goal. They want political unrest and instability, so that way this would potentially catalyze regime change. It's what they've been wanting. She talked about Saudi Arabia and the genocide that they're committing in Yemen. She said that we are making the same mistake all over again. We did this in Iraq, and if we do it in Iran, are we going to really expect better results? So this is such an important moment, but there was almost no coverage in the mainstream media. I mean, the whole point of protests is to draw attention to a particular political cause or political issue. And if the media isn't going to pay individuals like Medea attention, then the protest isn't going to be as effective. So these protests are intended to get attention, and the media isn't doing their job in covering these types of things. She's drawing attention to a very important point about how the Trump administration is currently trying to build the case against Iran in hopes of regime change one day soon, in the near future. And nobody's talking about it. So I saw this and wow. Medea has been at this for decades now, and she is relentless. I don't know that I would have the courage that she had to continue yelling and making your point in a room full of people who don't care what you have to say, who are hostile towards your ideas. Kudos to her. This was really brave. Hopefully, people will follow her lead and be more direct in confronting public officials who are warmongering, because this is completely unacceptable. And warmongering has become so common that, someone from the Trump's administration, or really any administration, will say something hawkish and it'll just go over our heads because we're so used to it. We're so desensitized to it. But we can never normalize warmongering and hawkish behavior. We can't. Even if we're bombarded with, this type of rhetoric, we always have to call it out and not accept it as normal. And Medea is doing exactly what she should be doing, and what I hope others will be inspired to do after seeing this.
Support this podcast by becoming a patron at patreon.com/Humanist Report.